Love and Monsters is the latest Netflix release directed by Michael Matthews and starring Dylan O'Brien, Jessica Henwick, and Michael Rooker. Should this post-apocalyptic movie be something that you check out over the weekend? Let's find out. In this insectoid take on the post-apocalyptic world, Joel leaves his community underground to go and reunite with his girlfriend Amy, who he has not seen in over 7 years. But as can be expected, there are many large insectoid creatures he must overcome in order to reach his one true love. Honestly, this film was a big surprise to me. I saw it on Netflix, the poster looked hammy and cheesy, the concept was hammy and cheesy, so I expected a very Zombieland-esque bit of fun, but honestly I enjoy this way more than I expected. It does have some tropes that it does follow, and there are some destinations that you can see coming a mile away, but it tries its best to do things slightly different. Some of these side characters are amazing. Ariana Greenblatt and Michael Rooker play a great combination of Clyde and Minnow, who join up with Joel partway through his journey. They have a very Little Rock and Woody Harrelson vibe from Zombieland about them. They bounce off each other so well. I love how they subvert expectations in regards to their backstory. Joel assumes that they are father and daughter, but it turns out they are both individuals that have lost someone very close to him and are together because they are damn good at what they do. My only problem with them is that they aren't in this film enough. I'd love to have seen a lot more of these side characters. That is one of my big complaints with the movie, is the fact that there are a lot of great arcs that are present in this, but they're dealt with in such a short amount of time. I love how a lot of stories are shown and not told to us. It is a classic case of you're in the post-apocalypse, chances are you've lost everyone you have ever known, and the film deals with it really well and actually balances it very well alongside the comedy. Dylan O'Brien is okay as our lead Joel. Sometimes his acting can feel a bit wooden, but when he has to deliver on the more awkward comedy moments or the heartfelt emotional moments, he does a great job with it. There's a particular scene where he's interacting alongside a robot that really tugs on the heartstrings, but again, it's one of them scenes that has a bit of a jumble in terms of its tone. It's a very poignant, emotional scene that is punctuated by some comedy that may or may not work depending on your outlook on these sorts of films. The monsters themselves are really good. The CGI can be questionable at times, but the designs of them and how they operate and how they basically are terrifying no matter what they are. The fact we see this massive CGI snail and it's almost 100% believable that it is there being interacted with. I did love how balls to the walls the film went with this. It's a very Netflix movie. Would it have worked on the big screen? Probably, but on one of the smaller big screens, I would say it is a perfect little Netflix movie that does have a lot of solid moments within it, and the monsters that I honestly thought at one point they were going to do that thing where they show the monsters sparingly and only show them as little as possible on screen, but I was surprised when they actually showed the monsters in all their glory. They weren't afraid to really flex these creatures, and I think that really worked in the film's favour because they could have looked silly, but I think the way the colour palette and the scenes were shot made these monsters really stick out, and while there were some times that the CG did really show, for the most part, I could buy that they were there interacting with our characters. Going back to one of my earlier points though, there are some emotional moments in this that, while poignant and wholesome and actually are 180 on what you expect, they don't truly feel earned. There are a lot of characters in this that are in it for the shortest amount of time possible. You never get time to develop Joel's relationship with his community before he sets out on that quest. That is dealt with very quickly. There is a dynamic between Joel and Minnow that is played up in a blink of an eye. One minute they are indifferent to each other, the next minute they are absolutely inseparable. It is a crying shame because honestly I feel like they could have played out this whole film in the space of maybe a 6-episode miniseries. I would love to see a sequel to this because they do sort of hint at it towards the end, almost that they realise that we didn't get enough of some of these characters, so they decided to tease us a little bit with the way the film ends. I couldn't 100% buy Joel's arc. While I did appreciate that they establish he has been taught several different things and he utilizes those different things towards the latter half of the film and really build up his character. Joel is a solid protagonist. He does the awkward job really well and he does sell some of the more emotional scenes, but the character can be inconsistent at times with how he deals with certain situations. Like, honestly, the real big flaw with this is that it is tonally a mixed bag. Usually comedy and drama can't mix well, but there are exceptions. If you saw my Palm Springs review, that balances the dynamic very well. This film does occasionally do it right, but on other times it does it inconsistently and struggles to find the point when to let the serious scenes lie and when to let the comedic scenes lie. They usually try and do both in every single scene, and sometimes you just want the emotional moment. But I love how the filmmakers played with the setting, gave us a lot of memorable side characters that we want to see more of, and the creature designs were fantastic. I think a particular highlight for me is the jellyfish. I absolutely loved the jellyfish scene. If you haven't seen this yet, I would definitely recommend watching it just for that one scene alone, because it is a gorgeous movie. It is cleverly lit. It's quite unique. And for a post-apocalyptic movie with a twist but with a comedic edge, it could have been the stupidest movie ever. But I find myself endearing to the characters and enjoying it more than I expected. Now, before I get into my grade, if you like what I do on this channel, consider clicking that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. And subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this coming all the time. Coming up on the channel, I'm going to be looking at the entire Saw franchise and bringing you a Death is Magic series where I look at horror movies in a video essay format. And the UK's finally got Promising Young Woman, so I'm going to finally get that film out of the way and reviewed before the Oscars take place. But without further ado, let's get into this grade, shall we? So, Love and Monsters, to put it straight up, it has a bit of a tonal mix that doesn't always work, and the lead character can be a bit inconsistent at times as well. That is my big issue with the film, is that there are a lot of inconsistencies, but there are some truly endearing characters within this. I didn't mention this, but the actress that plays Minnow, Ariana, she is actually the young Gamora from Infinity War, so that's a little bit of a food for thought right there with you. But yeah, great side characters, some very clever use of the monsters. It really took risks with so many of these CG insectoid creatures, but they all worked very well in the setting, and just the pace of the film was nice. That I would have loved to have seen a few more of the scenes fleshed out and a few more of the relationships fleshed out, so that some of the emotional beats that they try and enforce at the end really hit, because they can hit a little bit, but you have to really stretch your suspension of disbelief in order to buy into those. So overall for me, I'm going to have to say that Love and Monsters is a good cup of tea. So, Love and Monsters, have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Again, you like what I do in this channel, click that like button and subscribe, hitting the bell notification. Really helps with the algorithm and helps this channel grow. I aim to get to 300 by the end of June, and we are so nearly there. So stay tuned for reviews of the Saw franchise, a few video essays, and Promising Young Woman. And until next time, my name is Josh, I have been Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video.